We begin with breaking news tonight at 5 with an officer-involved shooting along an Illinois interstate. A state trooper is injured. Another person has been shot. The incident has stopped and rerouted traffic along I-88 for hours this afternoon and into this evening.
Yeah, it happened along I-88 near Sterling in Whiteside County. Kwqc's Elizabeth Goodsit joins us live tonight where a news conference wrapped up not long ago. Elizabeth?
Well, Sharon and Gary, that news conference just wrapped up, and it was just about 5 minutes long. Not a lot of information coming out of it. State police coming out, reading a statement, taking a few questions, but we are still waiting for more details as they investigate. Here's what we can tell you. You know, we've been reporting for much of the day that this started at about 11:30 in Whiteside County, but what we've been told now, it started about 45 minutes earlier. At about 10:45, a conservation officer was called out to a motorist assist. A man from Ohio needed help. Police not telling us what kind at this point, but we do know the officer responded to Burns and Albany Road in Whiteside County to help the driver somehow. But right after that, the driver called 911 and made statements that prompted a second welfare check. So the conservation officer, state police went back out to look for that driver, finding him on Interstate 88 at mile marker 35. That's just west of Sterling. At that point, the state trooper, the conservation officer, tried to initiate a stop, but the driver made an abrupt U-turn, pinning the trooper against his squad car, and then continued to accelerate. At that point, we're told the conservation officer told supervisors he feared for that trooper's life, feared for his own life. He shot the driver. The driver was pronounced dead at the scene. Both police officers, the state trooper and the conservation officer, taken to a local hospital. They were treated and released. Now, we do know that that DNR officer at this point is on leave pending the investigation. State police not releasing a lot of information about that at all, only telling us their thoughts, their prayers are with that driver's family. We are reporting here live in Sterling. Elizabeth Goodsit, Kwqc TV6 News.
Good morning, I'm David Nelson. We are following breaking news right now. A fire has broken out at the Credit Island Clubhouse in Davenport. Amber O'Brien is there live right now. Amber, what can you tell us?
David, we just arrived on scene, and you can actually see the flames still billowing out of the top of the clubhouse. And as we zoom in closer, just take a look at that roof. Clearly, it's collapsing. And you can also notice that the flood walls there, that was from just 2 weeks ago. One of the main issues for firefighters arriving on scene was driving down Credit Island Lane. I'm told that it's difficult to get these big trucks and vehicles down here with water supplies and firefighters, and that's one of the main issues they're dealing with right now. Currently still battling the flames. It's a little bit difficult to see the smoke just because we do have that dark sky because of the rain. I'm not sure whether or not that rain is helping or hurting the situation here.
That tops your news at 6 tonight. Team coverage of the flooding. I'm Paula Sands. Gary Mativier is in Kelowna, where many homeowners are having a rough time tonight, Gary.
They certainly are, Paula. You can see it right behind me here all along this road, these houses. The water is starting to pull back tonight, but this is flash flooding. You know, the Rock River is not very far from these homes, but that is not where this water came from. All this water came from the sky, and it came down in a hurry. We want to also point out that we talk about safety a lot when it comes to floodwaters. We were in this water checking it out a little bit earlier. Again, this is just puddles behind homes. It was close to knee level.
Start at 6 tonight with developing news out of LeClaire. Good evening, I'm Paula Sands.
And I'm Gary Mativier. A boat that typically barges along the river is apparently, at least in part, sinking tonight. Kwqc Taylor Umlin is up in the LeClaire area with the latest from there right now. Taylor?
Yeah, Gary, details still a little sketchy, but here's what we know right now. Police, fire, all here, Coast Guard as well, putting protective absorbent materials in the water because a boat is sinking here in LeClaire just across from the Mother Hubbard's cupboard. But what they're doing is they're putting some absorbent material into the water. We don't really know why, but the thought is that they're putting it in there because there might be dangerous materials from the boat going into the water. This is a tugboat, something that would be used to guide barges up and down the river. But one thing, what we can tell you is that this happened about 4:30 this afternoon. Like I said, Coast Guard is here. This is the boat called the Stephen Colby of Marquette Transportation. Crew members are safe. I talked to them earlier, and everybody is accounted for.
This is TV6 Quad Cities Today.
Good Monday morning. If you are just waking up, we have been following breaking news all morning long. Downtown Prophetstown, massive fire. We're looking at 7 businesses that are impacted by this fire. We have live team coverage, and we'll bring you all of those details coming up.
Big story, remarkable story, too, the way the community is coming together. It's really remarkable. Good morning, I'm David Nelson.
Good Monday morning. I'm Melissa Smith. Thanks so much for waking up early with us. First of all, we are following, obviously, breaking news. The weather, though, looks like the humidity is finally returning. That's right, and we'll go to Greg in just a second. First, though, we want to go live back to the scene. A fire in downtown Prophetstown, Illinois, broke out around 4 hours ago. KWQC News was first on the scene. Amber O'Brien's been reporting live the last couple of hours. She's here now with the very latest. Amber.
David, firefighters are still battling the flames here downtown Prophetstown, where the flames broke out just after 2 this morning. I want to give you an aerial shot here because the flames are still protruding from the building on the south side. We just talked to the fire chief of Rock Falls. He's doing the sort of media communication here. Just take a look at these buildings. Flames still spurting out of that south portion. And as we mentioned earlier, all that is left now is a shell of these buildings. It is an active fire at this point. They are still working to put out those flames, but as far as spreading, they have contained it. I'd like to show you video from earlier this morning when we first arrived on scene. This is also what Cindy had seen. Cindy Jean, who owns the restaurant where they believe the fire had began. This is what she first saw when she looked out her back window.
This is TV6 News at 6.
Downtown on fire, flames glowing through the night, shooting into the sky in Prophetstown, Illinois. Some can be seen from 10 miles away. Crews work for hours putting water on the flames from the ground and from the air, eventually draining the town's water system.
All I know is I called for more help, more help, more help.
And this is how it looks now, a shell of its former glory. 8 buildings burned, 6 a total loss.
I just ran out the front door, down my front steps.
But everyone is okay, left now to pick up the pieces of businesses lost, jobs lost, and a town center lost in Prophetstown.
Hurts all the people involved, the community, but we'll pull through. Somehow we'll pull through.
We have team coverage tonight of this devastating fire. It is the word we've been hearing all day concerning this ordeal. Devastating, and that's why we are dedicating resources to this story tonight. It's tough to see, tough to deal with, and our crews are hoping to provide some answers for you tonight. KWQC's Lynn Nguyen will be asking those questions in Prophetstown. Shireen Mohammed will talk about the Red Cross angle, and Amber O'Brien, who was first on the scene this morning, will show us how the community is already helping right now some of the business owners. Now, this is the area we're talking about in Prophetstown, Illinois. It is the downtown, which is about an hour away from the Quad City metro area. A downtown that's won a lot of awards for its revitalization and growth, reduced now to a shell. And here's what we know about that. 8 buildings on this stretch of the downtown are affected by the fire. 6 are a total loss. The other 2 have smoke damage. Nobody was hurt, but people do live above these businesses. The fire started around 2:30 in the morning. Immediately, the fire chief knew it could be a bad one and called in mutual aid. They fought the fire for hours using hundreds of thousands of gallons of water. In fact, so much water that it drained the water tower in Prophetstown and also in neighboring Linden. Both towns are under a boil order right now tonight. So they needed so much water that they had to tap in to the Rock River, going several blocks away to go to the Rock and pull out that water from the state park. Now, this shows the crews getting ready at this point on the Rock, extracting the water to haul it all downtown. And firefighters had a lot of help in this effort. A farmer and a local business also pulled up with water tanks. We start our team coverage right now with KWQC's Shireen Mohammed in Prophetstown to find out what's going on right there now. Shireen?
Well, they're starting to take down the buildings. They've already taken down 2, and now they're starting on the 3rd building that they're taking down. People are standing by, shocked and in disbelief at what's going on right now in their own community. Now, some I spoke with say that their hearts go out to the victims, that their lives could have been lost in those buildings, and the Red Cross is currently helping them with food, clothes, and shelter, and they're hoping that they will be helping them in days to come as well. They got the call originally at 4 in the morning, and they've been out on the scene all day providing, again, food and water to the fire crews, but the Red Cross has also been helping those victims as well. They gave them money to buy clothes and a motel for them to take shelter. They say the victims are just in disbelief and at a total loss.
They have to start from square one. They have family, they have neighbors, they have friends, but yeah, they have lost everything. Some of them even lost their cars. They're gone.
Now, some of the volunteers that I spoke with also say that they will be making follow-up calls with those victims to make sure that they are on the path to recovery. Again, they are taking down that 3rd building, as you can see, and they will be taking down the ones that are next to them as well. Reporting live in Prophetstown, Shireen Mohammed, KWQC TV 6 News.
A lot going on there in Prophetstown. Thank you, Shireen. Other communities also came in to the rescue. Crews from a half dozen counties all around the area, Clinton and Iowa, then Carroll, Whiteside, Lee, Henry, and Bureau on the Illinois side, all coming in to fight the fire. 25 crews there all at once. Too many trucks to count. And tonight we can tell you that the block affected housed a salon, the Historic Society, and a pharmacy. Now, at the pharmacy, they say if you're in need of medication, call the Galena office and they will bring it down to Prophetstown for you. The buildings also contained apartments where several people lived on the 2nd floor. We continue now our team coverage with KWQC's Amber O'Brien and a woman who lost everything in the fire.
Fire officials confirm the fire began at Cindy Jean's restaurant. Cindy Jean herself lived on the 2nd floor. She's the one who called 911, but now this is all that's left.
And I smelled smoke and I saw flames. So I grabbed my phone and just ran out the front and called 911. Just been crazy ever since. And I'm very thankful that I'm alive. And I don't really have anything else left. I'm like, wow, I am so glad I woke up, and I really feel it was God that woke me up and got me out. The people, my employees, Dawn is one of my employees, and she takes care of me. If I have a time of need, she's always been there for me. All of my employees, there's been a lot of them down here with me. They've all been good to me throughout the years that I've been here, 5 years. And the town of Prophetstown has been awesome to me. They love me, and they don't want to ever see me leave. And they're just very caring and loving people. I believe in God, and I know God is taking care of me all the time.
More team coverage now with Lenan Nguyen, who's here with more on what we just heard, how the community really came together. Lenan.
Paula, as soon as word spread of this fire, community members and others from even out of town were out in full force to take a look at all that was lost. Some were very emotional as they took pictures, and many were connected in some way to the people who lived and owned businesses in those buildings. Business owners nearby tell us it's very difficult to see their friends and neighbors' livelihood burned to the ground today, but right away, many from the community and beyond jumped into action to help. We spoke to a business owner who owns an air duct repair company in the Kwqc. He tells us he grew up nearby and drove in this morning to see the damage for himself and try to help businesses affected by smoke damage. And a volunteer firefighter this morning helping to battle the flames tells us he owns an excavation company. Right after fighting the fire, he jumped right back on the road to get his equipment and help tear these buildings down.
They're running the heavy equipment to make the building, bring the buildings into a safe status, and that way the town will be able to get past this, the streets will get back open, and they won't get anybody hurt or killed trying to do it some other way.
Just because we know they're going to have smoke damage, we know people's going to have problems with this, and you know, whatever we can do to help out. I mean, if there's something we can help them with, and hopefully give them some discounts and stuff on doing the work and make things better for them, as comfortable as they can to hopefully recover from this.
Community members tell us at least 3 business owners in these buildings lived above their businesses. They've lost both their homes and their livelihood tonight in today's tragic fire, but many say they're still thankful no one was hurt. Paula?
That is true about that, Lenan. Thank you. Now, the fire, we've said, could be seen from miles away. Lots of you sent us pictures of it. This one is from Christopher Williams, which really shows how you can see the flames straight on through the building and how bright the sky got with how it lit up like a furnace. And then a shot from Christopher Williams when the flames were out from the back of the building in the rubble and the smoke as it all crumbles to the ground. We want to thank all of you who fed us tips about this fire. We got phone calls to our newsroom, posts to our Facebook page, and a reminder that whenever you see news happen, you can always go to our Facebook page, email us at news@kwqc.com, or call us 823-KWQC. And for the latest on this fire, we're still working now to get information about the cause, the fate of the businesses, and the latest on the boil order. So keep us up to date on KWQC.com.
Topping you for 6 minutes tonight, a mercury spill at a QCA plant. DNR officials tonight still trying to figure out the scope of this situation. Good evening, I'm Gary Mativier.
And I'm Sharon DeRick. It happened Wednesday at ADM in Clinton when crews were pulling a pump out of a well. KWQC's Bailey Dietz says it's still unclear exactly how much mercury got out and if there's a possibility of it reaching other water supplies.
Well, the 1,400-foot deep well where this happened supplies water to ADM's boiler. As they were pulling the pump out of it, the motor became separated and started leaking the mercury. This type of motor contains about 17 pounds of the toxic element, and about 1 pound has been removed from the soil. As for the amount that leaked into the well, DNR officials don't have that answer. They're also not sure at this point if other wells are in danger of contamination.
Any mercury would be considered, concerning.
It's a very hazardous material that can cause severe kidney and neurological health problems if consumed or inhaled. Environmental officials take even the smallest amount serious and say what was recovered from the soil at ADM is significant. Then there's the unknown amount that could be beneath the surface.
It's a concern, and we're diligently trying to figure out what we're going to do next.
The well where the leak happened at ADM is non-public. But the DNR is worried about the deep aquifer that well pulls water from and anyone else that could be using it.
We're not sure how much of the interaction, can it contaminate other wells? We don't know at this point.
We're told Iowa American Water was contacted and has increased monitoring of its wells. ADM will work to recover as much of the mercury as possible.
Right now, with no pump, it's going to be difficult to get samples. So we're hoping that they can get something in place so we can at least get an idea of what is the level of mercury in the water.
The motor that was the source of all of this is being shipped off to fix and verify the amount of mercury it still contains. Soil testing is planned too. At this point, the DNR considers what leaked localized to that area, but can't say for sure.
Hopefully it doesn't migrate. At this point, we don't know all of that information as of yet.
In Clinton, Bailey Dietz, KWQC TV6 News.
ADM had this statement for us tonight. Our spill response contractors are developing a plan of action to clean up the well, which is currently out of service. No one was injured, operations at the plant were not impacted, and there are no indications that mercury has migrated outside of the well casing. The DNR continues to monitor the situation and will take appropriate enforcement action.
While the strength of the tornado that created all this destruction is measured by the speed of its winds, the strength of the Washington community can be measured through its stories.
Like foundation, everything just started shaking. It was so scary.
The whole foundation in the basement really felt like it was going to pick it up out and just throw it.
It was so, I was
You could hear
so
a
scared.
freight train coming for the house. It was the scariest thing I've ever seen.
And if the tornado was the scariest thing Abby and Steve Wilson have ever seen, walking up their basement steps and viewing the destruction alongside their neighbors was the most heartbreaking.
Heartbroken. I mean, I grew up in this neighborhood. My brother and I grew up in this house, and we used to ride our bikes all through the neighborhood, and then now it's like it's gone. You can't even tell what roads are what, and people whose houses you knew where you grew up, there's nothing left.
Now, as the sea of debris marks a time when many are focused on what was lost, the Wilsons say now is the time to think about what they still have. A strong community, a home that remained largely intact, and most importantly, their lives.
I thought it was over. I literally told her I love her, and I don't know what's going to happen.
All I could do is just pray.
As the saying goes, man never made any material as resilient as the human spirit. It's a truth that can be seen right now in Washington as neighbors work to overcome the destruction by coming together.
Sticking together, doing the best we can.
Bonding together and help each other out best we can.
For most of us, this is an inconvenience. Sitting at a rail crossing waiting for a seemingly endless line of tank cars to pass.
We don't even think anything about them.
Tuscola's Marjorie Harmon lives right across from the railroad tracks running through town. She never gave tank cars a second thought as they wound their way through Tuscola until 2 years ago, when a train pulling DOT 111 tank cars carrying ethanol derailed.
As it was moving down the track, it was getting closer to the homes that are just right across from it.
You could look east and see the fire and hear the roar from the tank car burning.
Wilbur Giltner says someone banged on his door around 2 that morning, warning him about what happened. He stayed put until one of the tank cars blew up.
Just one big boom made all the windows vibrate. But, and it got your attention.
The fire lasted nearly 10 hours. 10 tank cars derailed that night. 9 leaked their ethanol, causing the fire. 3 of them exploded. All were DOT 111s.
Thought that plate glass window was going to blow out.
The National Transportation Safety Board investigated. It said a broken rail caused the accident. Making it worse were the DOT 111's performances. 7 of the 9 cars suffered punctures and tears to their tanks, damage consistent with other accidents over the years. In fact, back in 1991, the NTSB released a study of DOT 111s, concluding these tank cars had thinner outer shells and were more prone to puncture damage than other tank cars, a finding it repeated in 5 other accidents before Tuscola. DOT 111s make up the bulk of the tank car fleet. The Association of American Railroads says 228,000 of them are out on the rails. 92,000 carry hazardous chemicals like ethanol and crude oil. The Tank Car Standards Committee, made up of industry groups, already ordered builders back in 2011 to build new tank cars with thicker tanks and shielding on the car's ends. However, that committee did not recommend retrofitting thousands of existing tank cars. It was too expensive and the cars didn't pose enough risk, a recommendation the NTSB blasted. The decision thus ignores the safety risks posed by the current fleet. Shippers often ship an entire train of ethanol or crude together. It's cheaper, but with each tank car carrying 30,000 gallons, those trains carry millions of gallons of hazardous materials. Now the railroads are pushing for a phase-out program.
It's going to be very difficult, though, if all of a sudden you have to change over the existing fleet without causing bottlenecks in the distribution, not just of ethanol, but oil, gasoline, chemicals.
Growth Energy represents the ethanol producers. CEO Tom Bias says the demand for tank cars to carry ethanol and crude oil has outpaced the supply of new ones being built. If tank cars are forced out of service, less product can be shipped.
We're very reliant on rail transportation to move ethanol around to all reaches of the country.
Big River Resources operates 5 ethanol plants, including one at West Burlington and Galva. It leases 600 tank cars to ship its ethanol. It's waited 2 years to try and get 50 more. Bias says that situation plagues the ethanol producers. It's the reason why Growth Energy has asked the government to study the issue further and not rush into new standards applying to all tank cars. It points out that there were only 11 notable derailments, like Tuscola's, between 2006 and 2012, when 1.25 million loads were shipped by tank car.
Encourage DOT to take a more cautious long-term strategy on moving this forward.
While the debate simmers, the tank cars keep rolling down the tracks. Even in Tuscola, residents have grown accustomed to the trains again.
We had a sense of fear the very first few that came through. If they were noisy or you heard the louder clacking and stuff, naturally you kind of froze up thinking, oh no. is this going to happen again?
Harmon says trains go through every day and nothing else has happened. Whether or not the tank cars passing through should be updated is a question many don't have an answer for.
I don't know. I would have to think about that quite a little bit.
They're just used to the sight of them rolling along. In Tuscaloosa, Mark Stevens, KWQC, TV6 News.
The average person throws away 5 to 7 pounds of trash every day. A lot of it dumped into a landfill.
But what happens to it once it gets there? KWQC's Morgan Otier takes us to the Scott area landfill for QC Tough Jobs.
If you've never been here before, it's hard to be prepared for a day of work at the Scott County landfill. The sights, the smells.
To me, it smells like old, sour food and, diapers.
Today, I'm working on the most vital piece of equipment used at the area landfill, the compactor. Every month, important maintenance is performed on these machines so they run properly.
The final drives, we're doing a service on those. The oil gets changed every 1,000 hours on those.
It's important work. Without the compactor, the trash would pile up faster and take up more space.
Yeah.
I'm working with garbage, which can be hazardous, so I need to put on a protective pair of coveralls.
You're going to take this gear oil and put it in the fill hole.
Okay.
So it comes out the inspection hole.
I'm told we have to change the oil. It can't be that bad, right? Oh, but it is.
So you're doing maintenance on these vehicles, but you're also kind of cleaning them off as you go.
Before you put the oil in, you've got to clean the garbage out.
I'll tell you what I'm seeing right now. It's just, this entire thing is just filled, and they've just got to scoop it out with a gardening shovel.
Although I have to repeatedly remind myself not to breathe through my nose, I've actually managed to get this thing somewhat clean.
Looks like you did a pretty good job. You got a couple diapers.
You got some diapers.
Don't
remind me.
That is one wheel out of the 4 that we have to service. So after this wheel is filled up, fluid topped off, we would close this lid up and move on to the next wheel. So
do it all over again.
Yeah, we're 1/4 of the way there.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
It may feel like a job well done, but I'm not finished yet. A much grimier situation awaits.
I'm gonna lay on the ground in the garbage right now. Oh. Oh my God! No! So bad! My hair just touched it. Oh wait, I have my hood on. Oh! Laying on a piece of cardboard so that you're not directly laying in the garbage, the wet garbage. Oh, I'm trying not to look around because there's a bag of something next to me and a wet pile of something.
Best thing to do is to breathe through your mouth.
Yeah, but then the wind blows.
The crew isn't doing this to torture me. This is where I need to be in order to plug the oil system so it doesn't leak.
So they actually have to have somebody lay under here and do all that work, literally laying in the garbage where I am right now. Not breathing through my nose.
And complaining aside, once you start working, you forget where you're working.
I guess you get used to it though. I'm kind of comfortable now.
But before I get too comfortable, it's time to find out how I did.
I'm back. I'm out.
Basically, she came in and helped us clean everything up, get into our inspection plates, get everything clean, and then from there, we filled the final drive up with oil. Like I was telling her, I think she did a pretty good job. She wasn't afraid to get dirty.
A good job, but not quite an A+ job.
I told her that we would give her an A when her Tyvek suit ended up looking like this. So she had a little bit of dirt to go. She had a little bit, so.
But I've got to look like that to get the 4.0 at the landfill.
Yep. So.
And even though my Tyvek suit is still pretty white, I got a glimpse of what these guys do. It's not easy. Still, they like working here, which makes this job easy for me to enjoy, too.
Anytime you want to come help us with these Packer wheels, you're more than welcome to come out and visit.
I think that suit made her look like a Oompa Loompa. What do you think? I think it's the hood there. Dippity-doo. Hey, Morgan is looking to take on some other tough jobs. Would like to hear from you. If you have an idea for her next task, email it to her. We're very curious to see it at ota@kwqc.com. And of course, our other big event in the QC every year is the Big 7 Road Race. We are joined now by race director Ed Froelich. Some of the big names in racing, a lot of them that you know very well, are in Boston right now.
Well, anybody that's big is in Boston, and there's a Chicago Marathon, New York City Marathon, and Boston, and that's the highlights of everybody's running career. And of course, Bill Rogers won the Boston 4 times, and Joan Samuelson set the world record for the women in the marathon, and she's won it twice. Joan ran again today, the 30th anniversary of her record-setting time, and she ran 2 hours and 50 minutes and 14 seconds.
So she's back to celebrate history of the past and sees history today. So Ed, when something like this happens, which obviously is an extreme rare event, what happens next for the racing community? We don't even know what exactly has happened and why this has happened here, but how do you as a race director move forward with this?
Well, when you do a race like BIX, there's millions of things that you have to worry about and figure out how to handle the situations. And of course, we have a very strict security systems in place at the BIX, and we'll be reviewing that and probably doing a lot more as we see fit. But you know, the BIX is just like a parade or any other public event, and we can't shy away from this. You know, we have to do the best we can do to make it safe for everybody, and that's our #1 primary thing at BIX is safety. And the next time is just have a wonderful, great running experience, but safety is first.
And those who take part in road races like this have a common bond. They sacrifice a lot to get to where they are, to go to these events and take part. How is the running community going to come together to heal from this?
Well, you know, if you're a runner or if you're an athlete in any sport, you're motivated, you're determined, and everybody will circle the wagons on this. I was watching the explosion, and all those people that were involved in that explosion were family and friends of the runners that were running by that finish line. And our hearts go out to all those people. Where it's a very sad moment, but it's a mad thing. You know, I'm mad about this, that it happened, and I hope it doesn't happen again.
It's been a very difficult day with many more difficult days to follow. Thank you for taking the time to be with us tonight.
Thank you.
And we are off. 39th running of the Quad City Times Big 7 Road Race. A great start. And you can see the leaders already positioning themselves as they make their way up Brady Street Hill.
And they're just trying to get warm.
Yeah. A record 58 degrees at the start. Coolest start ever for the BIX in 39 years.
Yeah, on the left of the screen already in the orange top and the long white socks, compression socks, Bev Kwqc, a 2-time champion, charging up that hill very strong early on. Bev's got nothing to lose out there. He knows he's a little bit under the radar with that big family move from Mammoth Lakes back down to the hometown of San Diego. Getting himself, you know, back in form. He'll take on a fall marathon later this year.
Now, live from downtown Davenport to get you ready for the parade, your hosts, Gary Mativier and Paula Sands.
And we are getting you ready for this parade and the entire holiday season. Good morning, everyone. I'm Gary Mativier.
I'm Paula Sands. Good morning to you all. We are making spirits bright. That is the theme of Festival of Trees this year. This morning, we're not making you so warm, but we are making spirits bright, for sure.
Well, in particular for the people that are sitting at home watching them, they are nice and warm. And so are these guys, all bundled up and ready for the exciting tradition that is the Festival of Trees Parade, Paula.
It truly is. And Rudolph is coming up right behind the Parrot Heads.
Rudolph, with your nose so red, about as red as mine is right now.
Right.
Won't you guide our sleigh tonight?
He's flying high from John Deere and Bechtel Trust and Foundation. That's the sponsor on this one. And, you know, Rudolph is lighting the way for, you know, our guy who's going to come up
It's a very important job, don't you know?
I know.
Somebody has to clear the way for Santa and the sleigh, and it's Rudolph coming all the way from the North Pole to be in the parade today.
My favorite Christmas show is still the Rudolph TV show,
too.
which debuted in '64. That's how old it is. And, you know, we just love Rudolph and the song and everything about him. So he's doing his thing today, and he's staying upright.
And he's one of the taller ones today, too, so far.